Well, welcome everybody. I will just let the stream catch up and kick in. Here we go. We're back to another Sunday Night Live. And if you haven't seen the thumbnail, read the thumbnail, we have got a bit of a special guest in tonight. Ooh, let's turn that down. So you've got to be nice to them. They're a little bit camera shy. They don't like to be on camera. So we'll bring them in soon. I appreciate you guys being here. I can see that YouTube is not sending notifications out as per usual. But again, so these speakers, just 1 minute, these speakers are doing me head in. They're a little bit loud. But so I'm sure you may know the person when they come on. So if anybody's got any guesses as to who it is, we can pop it down in the live and we'll bring them in soon. I will just like to say a big shout out to Jeremy's here, Jason's here, Mike's here, Mad Tattoo. Who else is here? Smoke, Bradley. What we got? Smoke saying what you get your notification 4 hours ago. YouTube works fine. You're doing well. Are you guys getting feedback from my speakers by any chance? It's because they're doing me in a bit loud. Just gotta let me know if it sounds okay. I'll pop it in chat. Oh, sounds good. Cheers, Matt. Thank you. So we've got 9 people watching. So what we've got to do for guesses, I know we had Oprah earlier on. Unfortunately, Oprah was doing her hair, and that says she couldn't make it. Says maybe another time. And Tattoo Baby, no, it's not. Although I did turn down for this guest, I did turn down Ryan Ashley. She wanted to come on. She was begging to come on, but unfortunately, I says no. Got turned down for this one. And next we have them, like I say, lining up at the door. So we've got Dave or our boy Joey. Right. So like I said, you got to be gentle when this person comes. They are a little bit camera shy. So don't be giving them a lot of grief. Don't be giving them a lot of slaver. We're going to answer a few questions and that, but as I say, you've got to be nice. So without that, I will bring your special guest in. And you're right. It's Dave.
It was Tattoo
Long
Baby
time.
all along.
See, Dave. Let me just pause into a smaller boxes.
Yeah, it's Tattoo Baby. Please get it right, Andy. For our good friend there, he did get it right. Yeah.
Yeah. If you really don't like me, Dave, I'm out of practice with 2 people. I've got speakers too loud and everything.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I wanted to get in the chat before, but I'm pretty sure most people had a general idea who it was. But I wanted to message everybody and say hi, but I didn't mess up your thing, Andy. That's clearly Oprah, right? Go by many names.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely yeah. So it's definitely Oprah. Like I say, just had to wait for Oprah to finish dyeing her hair, and she's on. So they've all been asking, and like I say, I know we speak on and off, Dave. You know, even when we're not on thing, right. We either chat, video chat. I know I copped you the other day, didn't I? You were in shop doing. You were like, I'll go outside. But everybody's like, "Where's Dave? Where's Dave? Oh, he's forgotten us. He's forgotten us. He's abandoned us." And I'm like, "No, he's not abandoned you. You've had,
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
I
you've had
could
so
see
much to do."
I could see what they're saying though, because I kind of feel like in a weird way I kind of abandon everybody too, and I think that it just kind of developed into like I got to focus on what I got to focus on now a little bit more than before. I was obviously in a really good place before, as far as in the studio on my own, like it was good and it was a good thing, but I personally wanted to get out into the world. I was in a small town and wonderful clients out there, but just want to go tattoo, you know, in a different place. Call it the big
Yeah,
city, but it's not. And my wife's family is out here, so anyhow, you guys probably already know that. But so it was a bit harder. I didn't have nearly as much time as I did before. Trying to get a house and staying with family at first, and it weighed in the back of my mind, like, man, we got to get up, we should be making this video, we should be doing this thing, we should be doing that, and I had to eliminate some level of stress, I guess, to just kind of help myself, and so I pretty much had to cut off making videos and just focus on what was in front of me. You know what I mean? And so that's where we've been. And I was talking to you, Andy. Hopefully, be able to get a camera, just so, a GoPro up in the light there, and just document my work and put that out there. I feel like that's something, that keeps me going. And keeps me
yeah. I
out there
mean,
doing stuff. So hopefully we'll get to that. But again, I don't want to put any time frames or anything on
no,
that. I don't want to review any. I don't want to review people's machines anymore. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I just want to like talk about what I want to talk about,
When you
struggles
want
I
to
have.
talk about it,
Yeah, exactly,
yeah,
and
and
stop worrying about all the nitty gritty of doing the YouTube thing. Can actually take a little bit of a mental strain because you're constantly following these analytics, and even though you're just making tattoo videos, sharing your process, is still you get kind of hooked on it, and it can suck you in a little bit. And so I just saw that as I needed to take a step back from that, and just continue focus on tattooing and try to get myself in the right shop, around the right people. Um, and so, yeah, pretty much what I've been up
yeah. I
to.
mean, how have you found, or what differences? I mean, I'll ask you. I mean, what differences? Because we all know you used to work on your own. I mean, me and you spoke about it, but you all
Yeah.
used to work. You used to work on your own property in
Yep.
Ohio. You were on your own property, so your
Yep.
studio was on your
Studio.
property. Um, so you had more time. The time that you want tattooing, you didn't have to be in the studio because it was preliminary booking. So you had a lot more time to spend family wise.
Yeah.
Um, so now that you're in, shall we say, you're in a shop and you're spending however many hours, I don't know how many hours you're generally spending.
About 10
Um,
hours a day.
how are you finding the difference between, shall we say, having to go to work as opposed to having the work come to you?
It's kind of bittersweet, like, but again, I think that's what I was saying when I started. I thought, yeah, it was pretty good before. It really was. Not that it's different now. I wouldn't say it's any worse because I don't think that would make sense, but it's just different, and I like it for different reasons too. I'm in the shop more, not just preparing for the next tattoo that I have booked, or making sure I'm there for consultations. Everything is timed before, so when I wasn't having anything booked, I didn't have a consultation booked, I was walk back across over to my side of the property and live my life and do what I needed to do. So it's definitely different now. So I have a 20-minute drive to work, and but I kind of enjoy it. It's
Yeah,
nice to get to work around other people, other tattoo artists, which is really fun because you're just all by yourself all the time. You only know what you know, and so it's nice to pick up little things from other people as well. And I've really noticed that a lot of the tattoo people I've ran into, other tattoo artists, been really, really nice, actually. Decent people.
yeah,
There's still, I think, like internal struggles amongst people of any, uh, job. But for the most part, man. Everybody's been pretty chill, sharing information. So I think I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be at this time in my career. Um, so yeah, and I have my own plans, I have my long term goals and whatnot, but sometimes you just got to kind of live in the moment a little bit, because if you're always striving for the next thing, when you get there, you never know when you're actually there, you know? So I remember just wanting to someday tattoo in a night, in a good shop, really. When I started, like, wow, how cool would it be to be a tattoo artist? Oof, how cool would it be to tattoo in like around other, good tattoo artists? And I feel like I'm there right now, and I feel like, damn, I need to work harder. I'm not this, I'm not that. So sometimes I think it's important to step away and go, you know what? You have goals, you have things you still want to do, but appreciate where you're at a bit more, and kind of enjoy the moment that you're in and where you're at. Like, enjoy the process, because I might have my idea of what the end goal is, you know, but when I get there, I'm going to have a whole new set of things I want to do, a whole new thing. So we're constantly kind of beating ourselves up to do more and do more. And so I guess I'm just kind of relaxing a little bit, focusing on tattooing, um, and just trying to enjoy each day. Even if I'm not tattooing, try to be productive, try to be positive, try not to let, you know, the world and what have you kind of drag you down.
Yeah.
So,
So I
yeah.
mean, so going back to it, you were in Ohio. You moved out of Texas. So going back to it, Dave, when you was in Ohio and you was obviously moving to Texas, and did you have this image, or did you have this, shall we say, preconception of what tattooing would be like, or it would be like to tattoo in Texas, or be in a shop in Texas? And has that lived up to your expectations, or what? Has it worked
Okay.
out, or has it
Yeah.
worked out different?
Well,
This is going to end up being a podcast, you know. This never mind what else.
we're having an actual conversation here, Andy. This is out of the norm. Let's do it.
Yeah,
That's actually a really cool question, man. I don't even know what my perceived notions were. This is gonna sound, and I haven't. I try to be as honest as I can all the time, even if I look stupid. But so I'll say this, that I just wanted to truthfully be accepted at first.
yeah,
I thought, you know, we all wonder, am I good enough? Is this? Is that? Holy crap! I'm gonna have to go work with other people that have probably had proper apprenticeships, who probably are gonna see my flaws and be like, well, this guy, you know. But I'm actually shockingly surprised that we were doing things pretty decent, you know.
yeah,
And I have picked up a few things from technique to also some sanitary things, watching how other people do little things. It's like, ooh, okay, I like that. Like, that is, so there's a lot of that. And I was shocked at, how reasonable, from my experience, the tattoo artists have been, maybe I'm just lucky enough to be working with some really good people, and the people I worked at the last shop too. But yeah, I guess I did have, I kind of had a perceived notion. My biggest thing is I was just afraid that I get there and people would, we have that, what is that, imposter syndrome. I think that we feel it even more so than we'd like to admit at times. And so I felt a bit of that, and that, wow, they're going to find out that I'm just this guy who's trying to figure this shit out too. And
yeah.
everybody kind of is. Everyone's kind of trying to figure this shit out.
It's
They're trying to get a little better. They're trying to do these different things, and you're not alone. And so it's been cool to kind of find that out. And I have no pride whatsoever. I will ask anybody anything if I think that what they're doing is cool, and I would like to know more about it. It's like,
I,
I don't care if you're the apprentice to, the owner, whatever the case may be. I'm curious of it all,
it's
and this is like so cool to have all these people to potentially ask things
it's
to.
like we've always said, Dave. If you don't know, it doesn't matter what it is. If you don't know, you don't know. I mean, there's no such thing as a silly question, especially if you don't know. Um, so
Yeah.
again, the only way you're going to learn is, or shall we say, progress, is
Hmm.
by asking questions.
That's
you
it.
know, and it can be silly stuff. I mean, it's like let's go back to a little thing that you just said there. A couple of little things. I'm going to put you on spot. I am going to put you on spot, Dave.
Sure.
Couple of little things. You said like different ways, and especially sanitary ways. So, what little tidbits of information could you give us? Shall we say for being sanitary, and
Yeah.
that you've picked up?
Well, one thing I thought was cool is it seems like so you have your tray that you work off of, right?
Yeah,
Liquid down, saran wrap, yeah, we get that. But a couple of the artists they have like a little staging area. They also lay a piece of plastic out on like their toolbox there, and so it's like a staging area for things to go on and for things to come off. So you can take them off, have a place to set it on a sterile, it's on plastic. It's a little thing. It's nothing crazy, not going to be mind
no,
blowing, and some people might not even know what referring to. But piece of plastic. So as I'm taking, let's say, the water, I'm unrolling it. I set
yeah,
it there on that plastic. Next piece, next piece, next piece. Instead of having to, I would honestly unroll that stuff and put it right onto the desk, onto the work box or whatever you want to call it, toolbox. And then I'd have to wipe that whole toolbox down. Yeah, I still end up doing that anyhow. But I just thought that's a little extra thing here and there. And that's the same thing I'm just noticing, like these little things here and there. Um, uh, yeah. I mean, that's the
yeah.
first
See,
thing that came to
it's
my
not.
mind. I can sit here and think of a few more, but it's just real little things. But
Yeah. So
it adds up.
what? So basically, it's just tiny little bits. There's nothing crazy.
No,
Um,
no, no. I
out
wouldn't say it's anything out of this world, but it's cool to see those little things in action. Go, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So again, like I said, this has ended up being like a bloody podcast. This. So it's so going back to. I mean, and I know you've just moved into a new shop. You've not long been there. Like I said, and I know we said to, and I've said before that me and you we still speak regularly, even though we're not on here. So you moved into your new shop. You got into this new shop. Now, are you still on the hook? Do you still in the new shop or been in the shop? And again, this is quite so much for me because I'm over here at UK, you're there at US,
Right.
um, and the tattoo industry, both sides of the pond, is completely different. It's the same
Sure.
basics and same mechanics and hygiene and everything, but it's different for styles of tattoo, what comes through, the size of them, and everything, plus the little, shall we say, nuances that shops have when they're getting people in. So when you've gone into this shop, do they provide for you, or are you still on the hook for your all your inks, your needles, all your stenciling stuff, and everything?
Yeah, so at the last shop, yeah, I was responsible for all that stuff. But that came with different rates, you know what I mean? Renting versus percentage, or every shop has its own setup. You might be percentage, you might be able to rent. Um, there might be a low percentage, could be a high percentage, could be something where you start at one and it goes to another. So it's kind of broad throughout. But at the first shop, um, they provided, like your chair, your seats, your a room for you to work out of. But as far as everything else goes, needles, inks, all that jazz, that was on you.
Yeah,
Here they pretty much provide like everything,
right.
and some. So I will say the owner there is really legit when it comes to making sure that everybody's using, some of the best stuff that he can get, and that it's consistent across the board. So everybody in the shops,
Yeah,
consistently using similar products and what have you. So
right.
it is kind of nice. I'm not used to it. I'm used to always going and making sure I'm inventoried and stocked up on what I need. So it's kind of nice to not
Yeah,
really have to worry about that. It's weird just to walk back there and grab what you need. Almost feels like it's like you're stealing, but you're obviously not.
no,
Um, yeah, it just has that feel because I don't know. It's just been the whole time I've just always provided my own stuff. So it's kind of nice. Now, obviously, if you have a specific needle brand you like, you might want to continue go buy those or whatnot because the needles there they cycle through. But I've used most of them and I've really enjoyed them. Various
yeah,
brands too. So
and So that's that. So and then going on from there, and I know this is gonna, and I know you haven't been there long. Do
Yeah.
does the shop that you're in, um, do they have apprentices? Do they take apprentices? Have
Yeah.
they got apprentices that are
Um,
ongoing?
yeah, there's an apprentice there right now. She's still considered the apprentice. She's currently tattooing, taking clients. She's wise enough, I could say, to kind of stay within her
Yeah,
realm. So she's not trying to do too many crazy things, and yeah, she's doing a pretty good job, to be quite fair. But nonetheless, there's just the one. She's kind of moving on, as far as moving out of that non-skin apprenticeship into skin, and then now taking clients and what have you. But that's about it. There's at this particular shop, there's 4 artists and one apprentice.
so yeah, so the
And I don't
so like
think
I
that
say,
they're going to be. I don't. Go ahead.
no, so like I say, so obviously there's a lot more artists than apprentice. Now, the apprentice is the this is a weird, and this might sound weird to you, and it might sound because there's 4 artists in there. Is the
Yeah.
apprentice is the apprentice the shop apprentice, or is the apprentice like the apprentice to one of the artists?
Well, I can't really speak with any sort of definitive. I couldn't give you a definitive answer because I don't know exactly.
Right,
I'll tell you this though. I'm gonna assume that she is Gary's apprentice. Gary's the owner,
right, yeah,
tattooer, great tattooer. I'm gonna assume that because I haven't been here for her whole apprenticeship, so I don't know. But I do know that um, it seems like a group activity, if you will. You know what I mean? So she can obtain knowledge from anybody. Any
yeah,
questions? If I have anything I feel like I can share that would help, absolutely. So I don't know what it was like in the beginning, but where she's at now, it seems to be like a group effort, if you will. But I
cool,
think technically it would be Gary's apprentice. So he's probably poured a lot of time into it before I got there, and
yeah.
probably still does. But I know she's at a point now where it's kind of like if you need help, ask. Yet performs some of those apprenticeship duties, taking some trash out, cleaning up here and there. But it's a relatively tidy shop, so it's not too crazy.
So basically, she apprentices under, shall we say, the shop owners, which I'm assuming is like you said, is Gary, but
Yeah,
it's
and
free.
like I said,
But basically, she's got to send to a point, or she's at a point where she's free to go around and ask advice, and she's savvy enough, to take that advice on board if needed be, and apply it
yeah,
to her own. Which I mean, that's
right.
good. I mean, it's a good way.
Yeah, I don't know like I said, I don't really know the dynamics of how long she's been doing X, Y, and Z or anything like that.
No,
But I can say that what I've seen her do has been good. You know what I mean? So good on her. Um, but yeah, as far as like how that apprenticeship went and anything like that, I don't really know, to be honest. Uh, but yeah, um, I think I don't mean to interrupt, but I thought I saw Jason asked, Dave, do you know how many hours you need to apprentice in Texas? I don't know that.
oh,
I don't know that there are a certain number of hours. Um,
there we
but
go.
again,
Yeah, I missed it, Dave. I was intrigued listening to you. You know about.
well, no, you're good. I just saw that, I glanced over and saw that, and I thought, well, I don't really know the answer to that, so I'll just kind of give you my what I think is I don't believe there are a certain number of hours, but anybody who has had an apprenticeship here in Texas could easily, you know, answer that for you. But I haven't. I could
Yeah,
ask, but I
there's
don't
another
think
one.
there's a certain number of hours. I think it's like the apprentice.
There's another one there for you, Dave. Does she?
Um, Yeah, does she set up and clean up everyone's stations? Like again, she's kind of a little bit out of that stage, if there was that stage, and I'm assuming there was a process of setting up, tearing down. Who's when I don't know. I really have only been at this shop for about 2 weeks, so I really don't have a lot of backstory on that. But I do know that currently now, even with her taking clients, and tattooing and whatnot, she's still kind of does some of the day-to-day stuff too. Nothing out of this world, nothing extreme. There's no, we're not cleaning tubes or anything. Um, it's mainly just some trash and mop up here and there and what have you. So
yeah, I mean, you see, to me, I'm listening to this. I'm listening to some of these questions that guys are asking you from your side of the pond, Dave, and it's like this one. It's like this one with Jason. Virginia, it's 1,500 hours. It's South Carolina's 100 hours, but it's put underneath it's 1,000 hours. So Virginia is 1,500 hours. South Carolina is 1,000 hours. Now, see, this is mad to me.
That is weird. I didn't know that there was these hours.
No, because over here,
I don't know.
You take an apprenticeship, and it's the artist that you're apprenticing with. Everything, they bring you along. If they're doing the job right and they're bringing you along and you get in there, they decide when you're moving into skin, and then when you're taking then you sort of like the realms. They also decide the, shall we say, the realms of the tattoo you're doing. E.g., well, you're only going to stay stuff sort of like this big, simple-ish stuff, names, all right, bit of scripts, love arts, dolphins, all that sort of stuff to start with, just to get the feel. And if that's there, and again, if that takes them 4 months of doing that, 6 months of doing that before you think they're proficient enough to move on to next sort of like bracket you're going to put them in,
right?
So depending on the skill level and the competency of the person that you're learning, I mean, you could be talking years, you could be talking thousands of hours, you could be talking hundreds of hours for somebody that's very capable and can pick up stuff just like that, as opposed to thousands of hours. So it's all on an individual case over here. So it blows my mind.
That, and I think the other thing too, Andy, is Ohio and Texas are two places I've tattooed out of. Currently, artists aren't licensed. You know what I mean? Like, we're not licensed. I don't care. It's David. I don't carry a license. The shop owns the license.
Wow.
So when you walk into that, if that shop, now, if anybody would like to correct me if I'm wrong, please. I'm not saying everything exactly. There could be some stuff I'm missing, but as far as I understand it, the way it's worked for me is once you walk into that shop and they say, yeah, you can work here or whatever, obviously if it's a decent shop, they're picking and choosing or whatever, your license, you fall under that license. So if somebody asks you for, if you're going to go to a convention, need your licensing stuff, that's the shop's licensing information or however, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as individuals, I know Ohio used to be each artist is individually licensed and then the shop is licensed. Where they changed that in Ohio a while back to where the shop is licensed. Once you're working in that shop, you fall into that license. So it's almost like the shop's responsibility to make those calls on when you start tattooing, how long your apprenticeship is, how well you're developing. I do think it's odd to put like a arbitrary number on it because 1,000 hours, okay, to one, 1,000 hours another. I'm pretty sure at this shop, they're more concerned about your development, if you're actually ready or not. What have you put into it or your effort, so anyhow, that's kind of the thing. It's like, how long does it take to lose 100 pounds? Well, it depends on who you are. You know what I mean? How hard you're going to work at it. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We just say, okay, well, anyhow, I just keep rambling, but yeah, nonetheless, I think the shops are licensed here and you fall under their license.
Yeah. Because over here in UK, and especially in the area that I'm in, well, according to what I've read and the information that I've got, and I've got it straight from our government, which covers everything in the UK, health authority and that. Every single artist in the shop must be licensed. So it's like me. There's me in my shop. If I was to get another 10 artists in my shop, even though the health authority has been out and they've cleared me in my shop and they've done my shop and the paperwork and everything okay, and me okay, for every artist that comes in behind me, they've got to come back out inspect that artist where they're working, and they've got to have a certificate. And your certificate, your license that you get, which they hand to you, your license that you get, or you'll get an improvement notice, to sort out, and then they'll come back out. The license you get must be clearly displayed on the wall where you work.
Dang.
And it's non-transferable. So say I've got my shop, and let's say the shop next door to me was bigger.
Yeah.
And I wanted to move everything into that shop.
Yeah.
And we moved into that shop. We've all got to get a license again for that shop.
Okay. Wow. Again, I don't really know the ownership side of it out here. I don't know how that works, to be honest. But dang, that's so everybody's individually licensed and the shop's license. Yeah. Then they still have that here in the States too, but with it being individual states, they all are different. I just feel lucky to be in, in Texas, which is.
I've just seen.
Been pretty nice.
Matt said, same in Coventry. Every artist has to have a license. All the same, yeah, because it's governed by obviously the UK government. The UK government has a branch, health and whatever it is, and it's distributed through all the different cities and towns. And basically, you come under one umbrella, so you're going through the government, just an arm of the central government to do it. But I know so many tattoo studios. They've got 6 or 7 artists in. But there'll only be 2 of them licensed.
Wow, that's so odd.
Yeah.
I didn't. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, it's wrong to the point if the health authority went in, if your local health authority were savvy, really, really brainy, and I'm hoping that none of them are watching this, if they were really, really brainy, because they have the powers. Our health authority has the powers that, let's say that, I don't know, let's say that they're off shopping. They're out there shopping, and as long as they've got their ID and the credentials on them, they're off shopping or anything. But they're on a shopping centre and see a tattoo studio. They're within the powers to just go into that studio and ask to see all the licenses. And anybody that hasn't got a license or this thing, they can actually prohibition notice that right now you stop working. Mid-tattoo, you stop working.
It just shut you down right there.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I mean, if you ain't got the license and you're supposed to have the license, and they're probably going to hurt the shop too, right? They're going to shut the shop down.
Well, yeah, because then what they'll do is they'd go back to say it was me. They'd go back to me as the shop owner, and then want to come and look at me then. Even though I'd had my license,
right,
and all my paperwork's in order, and all my cleaning and everything's all in order, they'd still come back and basically crawl up your ass with a magnifying glass, and be there for a day.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're letting that slide, what else are you letting go?
Yeah,
or just give them a reason. You're just giving people a reason.
Yeah,
you don't need that.
And your insurance, your insurance goes quite like this. You phone up for insurance. Yeah, no problem. We can insure you. There's only about 2 or 3. To be honest, there's only about 2 or 3 companies in the UK that will insure you for tattooing, and they all virtually most of them all boil down to the same underwriter, and they'll go through it all with your insurance, Dave, and then all of a sudden they'll go, "Have you got a license? Are you registered? Have you got a license?" "Yes, I have." No problem. If you say no, it's like, well, we can't insure you.
Oh, yeah.
And if you say, if you go, "Yes, I have," and you haven't got one, and something goes wrong, you know what's going to happen. They're just going to go like that, wash their hands of you, and just.
Yeah, you're not getting you're on your own at that point.
Yeah, that's it. They're just going to throw you to wolves, because it's favourite one for any insurance company, whether it be car or anything. If they can find a way that you're not conforming, that's it. They just, and they don't have to pay out. They're just not going to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it is nice knowing that, like, I got to Texas and I didn't have to, like, go through anything, getting my own personal license here. It was like, it's just the way the shop holds a license. they decide who works there. They do their background stuff. Um, See if they decide whether they want you in their licensed shop, because it all falls on them at that point as the owner. So
Yeah,
um, yeah,
and that's where they'll probably come down to, shall we say, vetting you,
yeah,
regards the quality of your work and
right,
everything. I mean, another question, and I don't know, I can't answer this question, so I'm going to
sure,
ask you it, because it's like, so when you go, let's say, let's just talk for example, and that being a normal tattooist and going to say like the shop that you've gone to, are you in, or are you in on, shall we say, a probation period to make sure everything goes right? Can they just go, pack your stuff and off you go? Or, I mean, I don't mean as you, I just mean in general, Dave. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
no, that's a good point. Um, Not that I'm aware of. There might be like, and I wouldn't blame any owner for having like a subconscious like period. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna give it, and I think there probably is. Again, you know what I mean? I think I've never been told, hey, we'll put you on probation period, see how you work out. You know what I mean? And we'll let you know. That was never discussed or said. But that doesn't mean that as an owner, you might not be kind of evaluating this person like, okay, I need to find out, are they what we're looking for? Are they filling the role well? Do they jive well with the other artists here? I think artist dynamic is important too, and having a good team that's kind of all on the same wavelength, if you will, is important. And I think that's another important thing for shop owners as well, is like, just because I just being around some different shops, you can kind of see like what they're going for and what makes for a good person in that shop. And sometimes I think it's a mixture of things, you know what I mean? Like, you could be like a fucking outstanding tattoo artist, but if you got a bad attitude, certain shops aren't going to want to deal with you. Some might, but I personally think a good shop wouldn't, because
Yeah,
that negativity over time, or that strong ego over time, I think can break a team, if you will. So
yeah,
yeah, he didn't say anything about probation period, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was one, if he wasn't just naturally just kind of keeping an eye on things, and the end of maybe 6 months.
yeah.
You know,
So,
I mean, it's nothing to fire us.
no,
Like,
no. Um,
I could imagine it's gonna go like, hey, this ain't working out. So, if you want to
End of
stay
week.
for a week or two,
Yeah,
but this has got to
yeah.
go.
Because, look, I know, like I say, you moved from when you moved into this shop, and again, as we said, as we spoke, and I know you've gone from renting to shop. It's a split, but I'm not going to ask you the split. I know, but I'm not going to make you put it out there.
Yeah,
But that, because that's private. Now,
right, right.
but what I'm saying is, does the shop then, when you're in the shop, help you find clientele as well as you find your own clientele, or is it you've got to find your own clientele, or is it a case of, shall we say, is there a little bit of a street shop going on where you could be in there and be free, and somebody walk in and go, well, Dave's free, he's more than capable. Dave, would you do this? Yeah,
Yeah,
no
so
problem. Is that?
yeah, it's a mixture of all those things. So it's yeah, if somebody walks in and no one's doing anything, if somebody's not doing something, we'll direct them to that person. So if I'm not working, somebody comes in, how can I help you? You know what I mean? If it's something looking for anybody specific and you feel like you meet that role, let's say, um, it might be that, and it's not the case for me right now because I tell, but if I was mainly focused on one type of tattoo, if something came in that it wasn't really up my alley, then that would go to somebody who would be more suited for it. So if somebody came in and they were looking for something extremely traditional and I'm available right now, I'm probably not going to take that tattoo. I'm going to talk to the other guy there. He does a bit of traditional work.
Yeah,
So I would get him. They would go up. They would talk. I think that's usually the way it would go.
yeah,
If there's stuff that comes in that anybody can do, and it's case by case basis. But
yeah,
essentially, yeah, if somebody walks in, I'm not doing anything. They're cool with my work. I'm cool with what they want to do. I'll do it right then and there.
yeah.
We'll do
So
the process,
let's,
or we'll book an appointment and have them come in for a specific artist. Also, sometimes what we'll do is like, hey, we're not sure, we're looking for something like this, yada yada. Okay, well, here's some portfolios of all the artists. Go through and take a look. If you find an artist you like, let us know. And they might be working. So what might have been a walk-in will just get converted into a booked appointment for whatever available
Yeah.
day you go. So yeah, and I've
So
gotten plenty of clients that way. Maybe the other artists are booked up or busy that day. Somebody comes in,
yeah.
it just kind of a natural flow. And I don't think anybody there is trying to outdo the other person as far as
Right. So that's
being
good.
everybody that walks in. Um, so yeah, I think
Yeah.
you just kind of do whatever and everything you can. But I am learning to discern that maybe this might be for somebody else, which I'm not used to doing, because if anybody came to me with anything, I will do it. I will
Yeah. I
figure it
mean,
out. I'll do it. But here it's like I feel like I need to respect the shop and let me give you the best person for that job.
well,
And I think it's this person.
you see that respect is a mutual thing. It's a two-way street. You show it, they show it, and everything works better that way. But so let's say if you're in shop, and three of the tattoo artists are tattooing, you finished your tattoo, you've cleaned down, you're still in shop for whatever reason. Let's say somebody walked in and went, let's just use this for, I just want a bit of script, I just want a name putting on me. And you were free, you go, well, yep, I can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Several times this week already. Past
Cool.
week.
No.
And I love that. I have no problem doing some small scripts, some small other things, yeah, I have no problem. And I'm actually I was talking to another artist there. I love his line work. Like everyone's got like something I personally think is amazing. You know what I mean? Like everyone's got something that I think is like amazing what they do. Right. So everybody's got really nice lines, but I remember I was just talking to the one guy there and he shared some cool stuff, some different things, but you have to ask, you have to drop that guard, humble yourself and go, I'm not here to play ego anything. You know what I mean? Like if you got something, if I have something, you want to know something from me, I'll tell you. I'll probably give you way more than you need to know about that thing. I'll over talk to you about it. And it's cool to have that reciprocated. So I got some cool new things I'm going to try, because that's the goal, is to get better. So if you see somebody that's doing something better, ask the questions, see what kind of information you can get from it. And if, to me, it's totally different from what I do, but the proof is in the pudding, man. I mean, that particular person's lines are really, really crisp. So, I mean, instead of them telling me how they do it and then me telling them how I do it, I just shut up and listen, because I think you're doing it better than me. So I want to know what you're doing. And they explain it. And you're like, wow, this is cool. I forgot what the question even was.
No, that's what. No, I mean that's what I'm asking. It's like me tonight. I get some message through tonight, and it's come on a recommendation. The lad that I tattooed, he'd seen the work that I'd done. I says, I like your work. It's awesome work. You've done some really nice work on him, and blah 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 blah. Going through it all, and that basically, and then blowing loads of smoke up your backside. Bulling you up. Then it come right to the end of it. Because I want two portraits of my kids, one on either chest. There's the crux. I don't do them.
Right.
I don't do them. So then I've got to go, thank you, and I appreciate what you're saying, and I do appreciate. But unfortunately, I don't do portraits, and it's like potentially turn down a lot of money. But it's not for me. If you wanted them drawn on paper, I'd happily say yes.
Right.
But because they're on there, and like I say, we're like a glowing with the inquiry, coming through, and then the last little bit right at the bottom, because I've got two kids and I want a portrait of each one of them, on either chest, and it's like, don't do them.
Unless the only, like, I think there's things we focus on, like it's good to know what our deficiencies are. I think that's what I'm trying to look at. Like, there's obviously deficiencies, and I'm just trying to like triage what I want to work on. And I could see, like, if you were going gung-ho into drawing portraits every day, pushing it on big skin, and here this guy comes and he wants, we'll say, a portrait. You're at that point where maybe I'm gonna get that image from him. Okay, that's what you want. I'm gonna adjust the levels so I get the right amount of contrast, and then you draw it like 10 times in preparation for that tattoo. Like that's when you are ready to the new. But I don't think it's when somebody comes in and just shoots you an email and it's like, hey, I want 2 portraits right here. That's not the moment to make the big leap yet. It's like, okay, I'm working on some portraits on the side here. I'm building up to that, if I even care to do that at all.
Yeah.
So I just want to make that differentiation between like somebody walking in and be like, hey, I want this. And you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna stretch myself. Well, that could obviously really hurt you. But if you're prepared for that and it comes in, still book it for like 2 weeks out so we can prepare for it. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
blame you, man. Like,
I
all
mean,
right,
and the other thing as well is you guarantee that he's going to want them in black and grey.
right.
Now, I probably feel more comfortable doing one in colour because I love colour, Dave.
Yeah.
You know that. I mean, I'd love to work in colour all the time, and I probably couldn't. And I struggle with colour on paper, but it's just so easy on skin. It's just so easy. It's way different. It's just so easy, and I love colour. And people come in and they come out tattoo. I mean, I want other thing with Disney tattoo. It's like, oh yeah, I want it in full colour. I'm like, yeah, I'm in both feet here. You know what I mean? I've got. You can see client sat there with this for this Disney tattoo, and I've got like 25 pots, with all different colours across it, and you can see shock horror on the face, and it's like,
right.
Where are all them colours going? Oh, believe me, I will use them.
Right.
Believe me, yeah. Even if it's just for mixing and toning and whatever, I will be dipping into all it. But you can see the shock horror. You put like 25, 30 colours out, to do a tattoo, and they're like, but I only want it this big, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter. I just put smaller pots out.
Right, exactly. Smaller ink caps. But yeah, I do the same thing with needles, Andy. I put way more needles. Like I'll have the batch I know I'm going to use, then I'll have like 5 other needles sitting in my standby spot on my desk on that plastic, like ready to go. Because these are the needles I think I'm going to use, but then those are the 5 that I might use too. So, yeah, always have. It's better to have more out and ready to go than you even need.
Yeah.
So if you're pouring 25 colors and in the end you only use about 12. Look, I mean, they're there in case you need it, and you might have used only one color for just that one dip to shade that one color that one time, but
you need it. But it's one of them.
Yeah,
you need it. I mean, again, I would say on an average, Dave, for an average tattoo, I would say I'd have anywhere between 4 and 6 cartridges out generally. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Depending on what I'm doing. I had a guy come in shop. About two and a bit months ago, and they were from a renowned tattoo studio, a bit further out in the area. And basically, it was a nice kid. They were coming in, and it were offering really well branded cartridges. I mean, big name branded cartridges for half the price of what the retailers were.
Yeah.
Because they was going into selling this particular brand of cartridge. Anyway, I just put an order in. I was stocked up. I says, I can't help you, mate. I says, and if I tell you the truth, from my clientele, they're probably over budgeted, them things. And we were talking, and I was saying, yeah, because I mean, generally, I've got like 5, 6, maybe 7 out. He went, his mate or his partner who, has the shop, there's 2 of them that have the shop, that they're in. And he the other lad sort of specialises in, should we say, larger black and grey. And his work's absolutely bang on. He's saying, he says he generally has between 20 and 24 cartridges out. So he's basically using a full box of cartridge, equivalent to a full box of cartridges.
Yeah, that is. So I mean, you're gonna spend, even if I know in quadrants, that means you're gonna spend about $50 just in needles. For each tattoo. But I guess, I mean, if you're doing some big stuff, I guess that $50 in the end's a drop in the hat, to be fair. I mean, that's on a different level than we tattoo. So I don't
Yeah.
really can't afford to drop $50 every tattoo. There goes, there goes some profit margin there. But yeah, dude, that's crazy. I could see that would be cool though, because then there's like 5 main needles I like to use, and I would be able to use 5 main needles for every single tone of black and gray.
Yeah.
So if I want to go to light tone, I have every needle set for light tone. Switch out, boom, 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 boom. Switch out, boom, 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 boom. Switch out. So that'd be cool. It'd be hard to keep track of it all. Another thing that I'm trying to do, and I'm not alone. I see it from other people too, but like I get going, I'm in it. You know what I mean? I'm like needle down, grabbing that needle, boom, going, and then I'm done with my paper towel, I'm throwing it in the trash or whatever. Or sometimes I'll set it on. I'm just trying to get a little more organized, a little more like slow down a little bit. You know what I mean? I've always been just get this tattoo done to the best we can in the best time frame I can to make sure that I can keep the client in their budget or whatever the case may be. So I'm trying to learn to slow down a little bit. Like, you don't have to do it in some arbitrary time frame that you think you should have to do it. Let's do it and smooth is fast, and that's what you coming to find out.
Yeah.
A little slower. It might add maybe a little bit extra time to it, but I'm not so fatigued when it's over because I'm not hauling ass or feeling
Yeah.
So keep it a little more tidy on the table and slowing down a little bit.
Yeah. Try to be a bit more, shall we say, efficient without. I understand that because sometimes you can get going and you just get buggying along and you be in the zone. I mean, like I say, you're up, down. I have the bin just at the back of me, so wipe, done. Poof, straight in, straight in trash, straight in bin behind me. Because one of my things at first, and we spoke about it ages ago, were time versus money for your client. Trying to get it done in a time that makes it financially viable for your client and give them the best and everything. But then you feel like you're having a all ass all the time, do it. And what I was doing is, I was doing same. And it was silly things, Dave. It was silly things to the point that, don't get me wrong, if I'm running a cartridge and I know that, let's say I'm running a 7-round liner, and then all of a sudden I think to myself, I want 15 mag. But I think I only need it to do that little bit. So I'll just pop that out, put it down, pick the 15 mag up, and do it. But then I'll put the 15 mag back down, knowing that I'm not going to use it for 10, 15 minutes. But then I don't rinse it out before I put it back down. So.
Yo, you're preaching it, Andy. Preach it, because that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Where you're like, you start off nice and organized, and you're like, do. And then as the shit starts to go and you start to get in your groove, you're like, a little of this, switch needles, boom, boom. Or you have 2 machines, lining one operator, shading operator.
Yeah.
Before you know it, it's like the needles are kind of everywhere, and you're like, okay, well, that 15 was, what brand was that? Okay, there it is. And you start to reorganize a little bit, and you're like, let me throw some of these old paper towels away that are piling up on here. Like, just trying to be more consistent as you go by trying to clean up every 10, 20, 30 minutes, an hour. So I feel you, man. I feel you.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it happens too.
And then what I was finding then is, say, especially for the, shall we say, the smaller groupings, say 3s, 5s and that, if I'd left the ink in it, if I left the ink in the cartridge and I put it down and I wasn't going to use it, I wasn't going to use it for a while, the next time I picked it up, because I hadn't rinsed it out, cartridge was junk. Because you generally got a bit of dried up ink in it and everything. And you can try rinsing it, but it never works. So then you end up throwing it away, having to get up. And then I don't know about you, if you're having to get up and go get another needle, say like there's nobody about to help you, gloves are off. Then you go into your stash, you're getting the needles out, you're putting them outside, you're putting another pair of gloves on. So in theory, you think you're all in arse, but in theory, you're actually just wasting time.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's another thing too, is that 1 second, mainly by and it just gets messy quick, man, and it's crazy. And I'm trying to keep that tidy as often as possible. And the other thing they use there at the shop, which I really like, and it's pushing me to be a little bit more organized, is like this cup. It's like this. It's like a hexagon, and it's got perfect holes all the way around it to hold your needles, and you fill the bottom up with water. And so every time you put your cartridge in the hole, it's got water down there keeping the cartridge wet. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah,
Ah,
they're really cool. But I still suffer from the same problem though. Is I'm starting with them nicely in the water and pulling them out. I'm going, and then I'm like, I'll just set this one here because I'm gonna go right back to that one. I'm just gonna grab this one. I don't even want that one to get wet. So I'm gonna use that in like 2 seconds. Boom. And then like 20 minutes goes by. I'm using this one. And it just starts to get messy again. I'm like, God dang it! I got to stay more organized, keep this stuff. But anyhow, yeah,
yeah. So it's like again. So going back, it's like I say. It's sometimes all in us and trying to buggy on through. It's counterproductive. It's
yeah,
you're better off,
tidy,
like you said, slow. I won't say slow and steady, but shall we say,
consistent.
that's it. That's it, Dave. You've got it. Consistent, being consistent and steady,
Yeah,
and just doing stuff. And when you've got the luxury and you get into that, you find out then, and you let that become at one with yourself of doing that.
right.
Then you find out, and I don't know about you, then you'll find out that your tattoos come out a lot better, they come out a lot smoother, cleaner.
Yeah.
And you look back at it and you think, yeah, well worth actually just taking that extra 30 minutes or whatever, to do it.
Yeah, I think that's it too. And like you said, if you slow is fast over time,
Yeah.
and yes, if you do slow down a little bit more, you're going to slow down. It's going to take you that little bit longer, but that little bit longer I used to think was huge until you do start slowing down just a little bit, and you realize that slow down over the course of the total thing means 20, 30 minutes longer. But
Yeah.
you're not as like, oh gosh, because you're taking it a little bit easier, methodical thinking, that sort of thing. That's been helpful for me, and yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I'm just breaking off. I mean,
yeah,
oh, guys, I mean, there's 14 people watching now. I mean, give it a thumbs up. If you've got any questions, jump in chat. More than
yes,
happy.
love to
If
answer.
they're appropriate, more than happy to,
Yeah,
answer them. There is a
absolutely.
piece. I'm going to stand it on your toes in a minute, Dave. There is a piece of work being sent in.
Oh, okay, okay,
So
okay.
at some point we are going to go back to it because
All right.
at the minute, I mean, I'll be honest, we've done an hour podcast
Yeah, we just been like, yeah, it's
type.
been so long. We're actually like interview style because it's been so
Yeah.
long since we publicly
Hey,
spoke.
Manitou. Oh, how are you doing? Welcome
Hey,
to the
Manitou.
party. Um, and do you know what the good thing was? Because I'll tell you why I'm going to look at it in a minute. We'll look at it in a minute, Dave, because the good thing about having two people and what I have missed is being able to go for a piss. Go for a pee halfway through your podcast, halfway through your thing. I don't come off. End at stream with a bladder that's just about to bust.
Yeah, I do
It,
remember those days.
yeah, and it's you can actually bail. But no, I mean it's nice to hear that. Like I say, you've got to a place. You've got to a place a shop. Even in my eyes, sounds like a decent move. You know what I mean? They're looking
Yeah,
after you. You're getting work and they're helping you with clients. You've got clients that have got the opportunity to walk in,
yeah,
so that gives you more opportunity to work. All right, you're spending more time going in another direction. You're spending more time at the shop, and like I've said to these guys, which then, in effect, because do you do 7 days a week, Monday to
no,
Saturday?
I mean, if somebody wants, so our standard hours are from 12 to 9, and obviously, if you're working on something past that, you got keys, you can stay. If you want to come in early, I like to book my appointments, like some of the bigger projects. Anything that I think is going to be like 6 hours or more, I'll come either book them at like 11. Sometimes 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
But I think 11 is kind of that sweet spot. Gives me enough time to get in there, get stuff set up.
Yeah.
Have them come in, get the stencil on, get everything dried and ready to rock. So you're tattooing about by 12 o'clock, 11:45, 11:30. Just depends on the stencil, how many times it takes to get it right, whatever. But kind of guarantees that I start at noon. And because sometimes you think a tattoo's going to be 6 hours and it ends up being 9 or it ends up being 8 or, whatever. So we're a lot of times we're guessing when people are like, how many hours do you think it's going to be? It's still, I could imagine somebody who's been doing this for 20 years would probably have a little bit better idea. Actually, probably have a lot better idea. But where I stand, I have a general idea. So 6 hours could be 4 and it could be 8. So, I'll get in a little earlier, but we're off on Sunday and Monday.
Right.
But if you got a client that, happens to be Sunday, I'm not going to turn them away because, well, that's my day off. If you got something of value, like a decent, what I would deem worthy for a Sunday, then yeah, I'll come in and do it. Those days aren't really days I want to be doing script and stuff like that. If it's something small, I'll just save it for the week,
Yeah.
But I don't want to let something like a really fun project go because they want to have it on Sunday. So,
right. So,
what I don't want to be somebody, how long is the average tattoo? That I saw Jason asked that earlier.
Yeah.
Into that, and it's really hard to say, man. It depends on the size. For the bigger stuff, the average time it takes would probably be, I'd say the average time would be about 6-7 hours for some of the larger stuff that I post. The stuff that you guys don't see because, I don't post that stuff. Maybe an hour to 2 hours, probably, I'd say, sometimes it can take you an hour, sometimes it take you 2 hours, but the smaller stuff would be right around in that ballpark.
Yeah. I mean,
anyway, I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want Jason to think I'd go.
Yeah, no. What we got here? We got Manitou. Hi, Dave. Hi, Andy. Good. You guys still streaming? Yeah, I mean, I'm usually days busy. It's a lot. As I've said, week on week on week. When people ask, it's got a lot going on and moving state and shops and. You've gone from your own place, haven't you, Dave, into a shop, which is a big career move, really.
It was huge, man. It was huge. I underestimated what I was getting myself into.
So I'm usually here on a Sunday, and that I've been talking to Dave. He did say, we're going to catch up. I think you've had this one scheduled. I think this Sunday's been scheduled in for about a week, hasn't it?
Yeah. And I'm glad we did because I was able to just know, like, every night I freak out. What the fuck's going on tomorrow? You always have that moment where you're like, am I forgetting anything? What's tomorrow? And you're like, oh, no, we're not doing anything tomorrow. Oh, yeah. So I look, and it's like, oh, sweet. Okay, I got Andy on the schedule. Like,
yeah,
it was nice. It was nice.
So what we're gonna say to you, pretty much. So you pretty much, shall we say, shop hours are roughly days wise the same as what we've got. How are you finding having, shall we say, your weekend as a Sunday, Monday instead of a Saturday, Sunday?
I like it because it's kind of always been that way, even before I was in a shop that, had like set days off. It's not like you can't. It's just to the general public, we're closed. You're not gonna be able to walk in and anybody's gonna be there. Somebody might be there, but the closed sign's gonna be up. But anyhow, I normally, even in the past, I didn't work on Sundays, and if I could, I would kind of reserve my Mondays because most people didn't really want to get tattooed on a Monday. You would usually start from Saturday and work its way backwards. Some people were specifically off on certain days that made it easy. Okay, you're off on Wednesday. Great, I'll book you for Wednesday. So just even when I was private on my own, it was still pretty much like a Sunday, Monday. Were there occasional Sundays? Yep. And were there occasional Mondays? Yeah. But those were the days off. When I was at Ink Masters, it was self to whatever you wanted to do again because there was no ruler, if you will. It was a rental, so come and go. And I did the same thing. I took Sunday, Monday off unless I was booked for that. So it is nice to have it structured in the fact that like the shop is closed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like schedule around Sunday and Monday.
Yeah, I mean,
so take your days off if you financially can.
Yeah.
Because
at the end of the day, all work and no play makes for makes for a dull life, really. You got to have some time down, some downtime, and spend doing whatever you're doing.
Watching YouTube.
Even if it's just laid on bed watching YouTube, it's. One question. I'll tell you what I've actually forgot, and it's a major question, Dave, and I've actually forgot to add. Hey, we got it. You're going to hide it, aren't you? You're hiding.
I know what you're going to ask me,
Andy. He's grinning. He knows what's coming.
Yeah, I think I do, Andy. You go ahead.
And I hope to God his wife is watching. I want to know, and it was into it. I want to know now. He's got to Texas. He's got settled. He's been there. How many months you been there now, Dave?
Boy, it's been a while, Andy.
7, 8 months.
I just got settled here. Okay, just I think probably just in the last month have things settled down. So we'd have to maybe call that a week or two, Andy.
I want to know if you've cocked up on your bet steak and lobster.
I haven't. There's been no steak and lobster. We did have steak at one point, but there's no lobster combined. I didn't get photos of it.
You bad man. You're bad man.
She does remind me. She says she's gonna tell people, and I'm like, well, I'm not. I don't even go on. I'm not really on the YouTube as much anymore.
But that's why I had to ask you. So we managed to get you back on. And that's why I had to ask. And again, while we've got you back on, we're not going to let you leave. But what I am going to do is I'm just going to put this up across the top. Look, put any questions.
Let's do it.
And there's an email at top. I've already got one piece of work sent in. I'm going to leave this up for probably about 10, 15 minutes. That's all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
If anybody's got some work or anything they want to send in, I'm not letting Dave go without getting him on a critique. I don't terminology critique, Dave. It's just we're going to take a look and put pointers and try help you out. You know what I mean? Rather than, although I will say to him, if you're at a point where it's like you're garbage, I'm going to tell you, you're doing something. I will tell you, but if not, I'd rather just go down, point out stuff for you to look at.
Yeah.
Try and give you a bit of advice on it. Take it away. See if you can do it. Come back, if you can.
I think honesty is the best thing, and that's been always that. Being honest with people is it's not a hard thing, but critiquing people's stuff has always been a challenge for me. But I think if we do it, I'm going to try to be as helpful as possible, being like honest with it. You know what I mean? I think that just after being in the world and seeing a lot of different things, being in the world, wow. Anyhow, being around some other different shops for something different, and I think there's a lot to be said about just being honest. And so, yeah. If it has to, if you got to tell somebody something mean, I think it's actually helpful in the long haul.
Yeah, so we'll just see if anybody's got out to send it in. What I will say, anybody that's watching, 14 watcher, get a thumbs up, like, share, subscribe. If I have got something planned, if, or should I say when, I hit 1,000 subscribers, I have got something planned. I have got something planned. It is a secret. You will need to be subscribed. You will need the notifications on. And that, so it's one of them things. But once I hit the 1,000, then I will release a video on what's going on. What we got here? Is this Manitou baby? Boom. What we got? How to prepare fake skin before putting the stencil on. And after tattooing it, I always stay with dirty streaks from wiping, even using a Bottom Valley. Hey, as Brian Doe made you put this on, because you know what I'm going to tell you to clean these fake skins with, don't you? Somebody want to put in chat what I'm going to tell him to put clean the fake skins with?
I think, remember Brian Doe?
It was right at the beginning.
Message sent today.
Yeah. Anybody want to know? Does somebody want to put in chat and let Manu Tattoo what you clean fake skin with?
Yeah, it works best. There it is.
It works best.
There it is.
Way, Shane, how you doing, Shane? Glad you could make it. There you go, Manitou. Baby oil. And that was just for Brian with that baby oil. And do you know something, Dave?
Yeah.
And what I'm going to tell you, what freaks me, do you know what blows my mind?
What's that?
Because we're telling people, you know, when we're over on your channel, we were saying that was one of the questions, one at all time, and I'd always say baby oil, you know, to clean it. To the point now, I go on Facebook and somebody will be on one of these tattoo forums or whatever. How do I clean baby? And the amount of people that got fake skin, the amount of people that put in baby oil, like that. It's like, boom! At one point, they were all saying Vaseline, you know, green soap. And
word spreads, and you might not see it, you know, but people find something that works, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to tell people about this. You know, you just can't help it sometimes. So,
I mean, preparing fake skin. I don't know about you. What I used to do is, because I always used to find that as long as if it's a decent thickness fake skin, you want 3 millimeters really, don't you, Dave?
Yeah, you need a little thickness.
What I always used to find is it always felt waxy, you know, or sticky or whatever. So what I used to do is hot water as I could stand, you know, in the sink with washing up liquid dish soap in it, you know, some sort of soap in it, and used to wash them. But I used to get, have you seen the pan scourers where they're like foam on one side and then they're like a scourer on other out there, coarse on the other side. I used to get one of them, mate. You know, go over it, you know, both sides, you know, really give it a right good scrub. Yeah, really give a right good scrub, rinse it off, put it to the side, let it dry, and I always found that they were fine then. I don't know about you. I don't know what your process was, Dave.
No, I saw that and I thought Andy's going to know this better than me because when I was using fake skin, I wasn't doing anything at that time, prep stuff. Like I started to hear a lot more prep stuff come out later on, like in some of the stuff you were doing, and people are putting like baby powder down. I don't really know, but because when I was using it, I was just taking it right out of the freaking bag, slapping it down and slapping a stencil on there, wondering why my stencils weren't sticking very well, you know, and yeah, but the wiping, even back then, I was using Vaseline or A&D. Yeah, but that baby oil is like way better.
You see, the other thing I have found with fake skins, I don't know about you. I know you've messed around with. We've all messed around with fake skins, haven't we, Dave? Let's be right. We just to be inquisitive. Sometimes you just. Yeah. But I tell you what, I have found. If you put in a stencil on fake skin, 100% of the time, any stencil made with either thermal or hand stenciled, you know, paper, is 10,000 times better than an inkjet.
Yeah, 100% agree. I let an inkjet stencil dry for like 4 days on a freaking piece, and it just wiped right away.
Yeah,
thermal fax for sure.
Yeah,
is the way to go for fake skin.
It is.
I have been enjoying using these the printer ones, mainly just the Eco Tank ones, and I like using it. It's nice. It's convenient. I mean, there's such clean stencils every single time, and then to have the ability to also do it in grayscale as well, for like faces and different things like that. It can be a little bit nicer. I do find that like I'll lower the opacity of it.
Yes.
So it's not so purple when you print it. So it's almost a little easier to deal with.
Well, that's what I find good with, like I said, I've always said I made no bones. I mean, I'm a massive inkjet printer freak. You know what I mean? I love mine. I just love mine to death. To the point, yes, they can print dark. Whereas thermal printers, sometimes you find yourself moving the opacity up to get a clean and find that balance. With an inkjet, you find yourself toning them out a little bit and bringing that opacity down, you know, lightening them up a little bit. and sometimes it can still print it out quite dark and lay a lot of ink down. So it's a lot of messing about. What I do like, and I know you use Procreate, and again, we're not getting on about Apple stuff to you know what I mean? I use a lot of
Android, right?
I use a lot of Android, but I use a lot of Photoshop. Concept is in Photoshop, and a lot of finishing up is in Photoshop. Brilliant tool. And you start putting, bringing a portrait in or something like that, or a face, then I can put it into there, black and grey, move it around. I virtually can apply a filter called the photocopy filter, and it'll line it all, and it'll put lines and demarcations around it, and that.
Oh,
I sometimes to the point that I can be really lazy. I can get really lazy with my stencils, but I can still read them.
Yeah, that's the important thing. That's the important thing. You see some stencils go on, and there are moments when you're doing something like that, and you do go, "I'd wish that I should have hand stenciled this." You know you're gonna make it work. You know everything's gonna be okay. In the back of your mind, you're like, "Yeah, this would have been better if had I just hand stenciled this," because you can get it. It can start getting weird.
Look, I mean, I've taken on fly. I've taken stencils, slapped it in Photoshop, knowing that I'm using an inkjet printer, messed around with it a little bit, and opacity and contrast and everything, and printed it out and put it on. For being lazy. Whereas really what I should have done is then just sent it to my tablet. I just should have, when I'd done that point, what I usually do then is just send it to my tablet, open it up in Sketchbook, add all my extra lines, and everything else over the top of it, and make them super dark so I can make the underneath a lot lighter, and add all them in, and all my demarcations around any light parts or anything I want to specifically take. So, but I haven't done. I've just printed it out of the picture, stuck it on somebody, and yep, let's go.
Yeah. I think there's time and place, and then sometimes if you just have the time, do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't. And it's reality. But luckily, I mean, technology is pretty cool now that we have the ability to utilize this kind of stencil printing operation. Now, I will say the paper that it prints onto is got a little bit thicker, so I think it makes it a little more difficult to curve around stuff. Like when you use like traditional stencil paper and you run that through the thermofax, that piece that prints on is more flexible. I know that the stuff you're printing on through the inkjet is still thin. It is still very flexible, but I find that the actual thermo paper itself seems to be more. I don't know. It's just a little bit thinner, I think, personally.
Right. Because I know I can't say that I've really noticed, but I have been using that printer for a while now. I know, because I know I buy, shall we say, the thinnest paper that you can, specially designed, for it, for the stencils, and I don't seem to.
That could play a part. I didn't even know there was different
papers
thicknesses in the papers you could use. Because
it all depends on. I don't think it's so much the thicknesses. I think it's the brand, Dave.
Oh, okay. Just naturally, each brand's going to have a little bit.
Yeah, one's a bit thicker, one's a bit thinner, and I think it's more that along the lines of.
But it is really nice to click that button, and it just prints that sucker. Now, I do miss the. I passed that down the road. I let the guy from the other shop keep that. You know what I mean? It's been tried and true, but when the time comes for me to buy another one, I already know what I'm buying.
The thing is,
they have an inkjet at this shop, but if I'm gonna buy one for myself down the road, get the inkjet. But the kind of inkjet I want, I went and tattooed over and a couple hours away with Chief. I don't know if anybody remembers Chief from. He's on YouTube. Well, he's not on YouTube, but we met through YouTube. He's just kind of been an ongoing person that we just kind of know through YouTube, and he's out in Texas and he has a shop up north, a couple hours. And I went up last month, maybe just 2 weeks ago, maybe I don't remember now, and tattooed up there. And he had the inkjet too, but he had the one, and you might have this, Andy, too, where you can just take the piece of paper, put it on like the copy version, where you can just put the piece of paper on top, boom, close it, just like you would to copy a document, and just print it out that way.
Yeah,
What's that?
Yeah, printer scanner.
Yeah, thank you. That was a much shorter way
Yeah,
than me trying to
but
printer scanner.
what I would, yeah, I've got the same. But what I would say is, if I was to get another one, and these wasn't available when I bought mine. If I was to get another one, when the eco tank, because it's got to be new, and the tanks have got to be empty to put these inks in. When I bought it, you could only buy it. You could only buy them, obviously, with the 4 tanks. You know, the magenta, cyan,
the different colors,
and the black. Now, in order to use them, because I mean, it's expensive, is the ink that goes in it.
Yeah, it is really.
But you've got to put so much in them 3 tanks.
Yeah.
To trigger it to work, and the rest. Now they actually do an eco tank that is mono. It's black only.
Just black. Yep. So you fill 1 tank up.
And your ink goes further. I would buy that all day long. I would pay the extra money. If it was more money, I would buy it because it will save you. Save you so much in the long run. Manu, boom. Are you out of here? Well, guys, had a good night. I'm not really up to see any more vids of you and Dave. Best thing to do is just go on the notifications, switch them off and switch them back on your notifications, on your little bell notifications. Switch it off, switch it back onto all. I don't know. YouTube may decide to do whatever and start sending you them again. I honestly don't know. Appreciate you being here, bud.
Yeah, have a good night, Manu.
So,
yeah, but I do like that single tank operation, and I would like the kind that be both a copy scanner. The one here is just a copier, so you send it through the Eco Tank app or Eco app, whatever you want to call it. To it. But I do like the addition of being able to scan, boom, making the larger pieces. I like the certain way of doing things, and that works for me for large scale, putting the pieces together and whatnot.
Yeah, you see, what's nice for me is I can draw a picture on. I can draw a stencil on a piece of A4 paper, on computer, on my tablet or whatever.
Right.
I can then whack it across to print it out via my laptop. And then with mine, I can say whether it's A4, I can print it out. I can print that picture out, and mine will print it out. Although I've got to piece it together, we'll print it out, believe it or not, up to 8 sheets wide by 8 sheets deep.
Yeah.
And the printer will do that. The software and the printer will do that for you. So
can you do 2 sheets?
Yes.
See, what I have when I have this other thing I can break it down into, but it only wants to break it down into like 2 by 2, so 4 sheets, or 4 by 4. I mean, you can get huge, but when you just want that 2 by 2 or that 2 sheets, it won't do that. It will only want to do.
I have the option with mine is obviously that's a piece of A4 paper, lettered paper. I have the option to go either that by that, if you understand what I mean, or I can have it that by that. Do you know
that's the way I want it. I want it that landscape by landscape.
Landscape, that's it, Dave. Landscape by landscape, portrait by portrait, and then I can either have 2 by 2, 1 by 1, and then you can have 2 by 2, 3 by 3, 4 by 4. So on and so forth, and it will automatically then scale it up, chop it up, and what you can do as well is you can put. There's a little box on it, and it says something along the lines of cut lines or cut markers.
Okay.
What it does is it puts little markers on your page, and that's then where you line everything up with.
Oh, that's so cool. Dang. See, it's all these little things that are fun to monk around with, help you out, save time. But
Yeah, but
Well,
it's
we got the. Do you have the anybody saying
yeah.
anything?
I am gonna go. Let's share the screen because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it up. And Dev, I'm gonna nip for a piss. I'm gonna put you on spot. I'm really gonna put you on spot.
There you go.
Let me work out. Let me just work this out, Dave. Screen.
Yeah.
Is it? I'm just sat here talking to me saying, guys, don't worry about it. Although saying that, there's no real difference. Although saying that, don't feel like I'm talking to myself tonight because there's somebody else on, other screen. Whereas when you're on your own,
Yeah, you
it just
definitely
feels
feel like you're just talking.
it just feels like you are talking, to yourself when you're on your own.
Yeah.
So let's show this up. I can't think. So 67823, which I'm assuming that this is
Huh.
Mike Parrish. Mike Parrish.
Oh, okay.
No subject. It says, send another tattoo in. This one is healed. I know I have to go back in and punch it in the black, but is this one a little better? Right. Can you see that there, Dave?
Yeah, I can see that.
Where do you want me to put?
Yeah.
I'm gonna nip for a piss, mate.
Right there's good.
You're right there. And do
Yeah.
you need it, or do you want me to zoom in a little bit further, Dave?
Hey, that's fine right there. Yeah.
Are you all right there?
Yeah.
I'll be 2 minutes, Dave. I just need it quickly.
All right. Yeah, no problem.
All right.
Well, we do see. Obviously, you're saying you got to go put the black back in, and definitely we can see that. And those are the kind of things that sometimes tattoos need a second pass. Sometimes stuff happens. But looking at this, it kind of looks like it might have just been rushed a little bit because it doesn't quite look all that saturated in that black. I mean, there's quite a few holidays, unless it's supposed to have that textured sort of look. So I'm kind of seeing that too. That might just be a byproduct of packed areas of black and less packed areas of black. Maybe that's part of the design, but if it's not, then definitely slow down when you're packing your black. It's tedious. Packing black is tedious. So take your time with that. I do like how all the shape you have in the skull, man. That looks really cool. I would encourage you to push the tonnage a little bit more, like up in the bone, right? That curve right here. You could have gotten I wouldn't have put black or anything in there, but whatever, kick it up a couple notches in there. Try anything you can do to get a little bit more depth into anything you're doing. You're going to do that by using black or the darker side of your tonnage. And I would consider the darker side to be your black, something that's around like a 50-60% full cap, and maybe like a 10 drop. I would consider those on the darker side. And then you got your 5 and 2. 10's kind of in the middle, so you have your black and your 60, and then you have like your 2 drop and your 5 drop on your light side, and then you got like your 10's kind of like your mid liar. So depending on whatever you use as your main tone for this, try to punch a little of that darker side of things in there, just to give it a little depth. But as far as the skull and the shape and the bonage and stuff, it's cool. I like that you spend a little extra time in the eye as well, but it's just missing that cleanliness that we're all striving for. And that's going to come by slowing down everything a little bit, taking a little bit more time. And you might feel like you're taking a long time. You might feel like it's like, man, I shouldn't be taking this long. Whatever it is, get those ideas out of your head, and it takes however long it takes. Saturate that black wherever you want it. Slow down, saturate that black, and treat all your shades the same way. I don't know if this might be partial. No, I don't think it's a cover up, but I just see something going on up here in the upper left. I see the lining. Here and there, that lining, you can see the bounces in it. Sometimes, depending on how you're running the needle, it can be bouncing on the skin, causing it to look good in the moment. I struggle with this, and I'm working on it. But when it heals, you can see where more ink was impacted into the skin in that dot, which is going to spread out a little bit more. So that's just going to come down to line consistency. And I too am working on it. It was a great guy at work, and I loved his lineage and asked him some questions. And so I'm working on. I want to improve that a little bit more too, be a little more consistent in that. But yeah, I think this is pretty good, man. Especially when you zoom it out and take a look at it, you're like, wow, this is cool. But it just needs all those little things. If you started to put together those little things, this thing's going to add up to something really cool. But as far as getting that 10 out of 10, it's just not quite that clean. And that cleanliness, again, is going to come back down to the blacks being saturated, the midtones being saturated and smooth. Yeah, that's kind of about it. I think it's definitely. I remember seeing Mike's progression, so it's cool to see.
Yeah, I mean,
along here, but we do. Go ahead. I didn't see the top.
No, sorry, Dave. I mean, yeah, I mean, like I say, you see, the thing is with Mike, you've seen his work on false skin and that, and it's on point. Do you understand where I'm going? And his transition, he's really struggling with transition to skin, and this is unfortunate. Like I said to Mike, it's a little bit frustrating because if he had somebody there or a mentor that was there in the flesh as he was doing one line, then they was putting him correct when he's going. They were trying to correct him when he's doing his second line. Whereas, unfortunately, as it is with a lot of people, it's not just with Mike, where it is with a lot of people, that they're doing stuff and then they're having to send it to somebody, maybe somebody like us, to have a look at it, and then a week later they're getting a bit of feedback on it. Then they're trying to have it, take it away, and implement it. What we've said, which can be tricky. Again, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've said it, like some of these black areas are not quite, we can, like through here, Dave, and that, and some of these, you can see that they're not quite saturated.
No, if there was some intention, like I said, the only reason I pull back a little bit, because I didn't know if maybe it's intentional to have some of these open areas, if you will. It doesn't look like it's supposed to be that way. It looks like it wasn't saturated all the way through consistently, but it could be some of it intentional. So hard to comment on it, but you can definitely say that, like, where the black tone also has to be consistent, and be careful when you line with like a liner and then try to go off of that line and keep it solid black. It's an even slower and tedious process. You
see, for me here, even at this point, if I want to go in and redeem it, see, like for these points, here, Dave, for me, if it were me, I'd look to say, like, from here out, punching solid black maybe out to about here, or a little bit further. Then I'd start gradation out. Do you understand? And look, you could go back over this and you could go back over it with opaque greys and start out with black and then maybe a 22 drop and a 14 drop or whatever, and just fade it out going over the top of this. It would transform it, it just give it, it just give it that bit more depth, and bring it alive a little bit. Same in the nose, it would have had more dark in places, and you can see where Mike's, lined up there. It's lined, like a black line. And like we say, if you're running out of stencil and you want to line, you're better off lining with a really, really light grey, because if you're going to go over it with black or put black up against it, you're not going to see it. In areas like this, if you're losing your stencil and you need to go back, you use a light grey. But what we can see here, I mean, you look at line work, just needs a bit more stretch in the skin and a bit more commitment to that needle in some areas. You can sort of like see the hesitance, to put the skin in, put the needle in the skin and keep it there.
Right, and it kind of looks like that needle might be bouncing around on there, and that could be part of not getting that good stretch, or just keeping your hand steady and at the right depth, and then pull that consistently.
Yeah, and again, you don't know the machine, the voltage, the needles, and anything. Yeah, if you were stood at the side of somebody while they were using it and they set the machine up and you could see where they started and this was happening, you'd be saying, look, you either need to stretch or get your pinch. Like I said, I use a pinch method, generally. I'm like that. I'm working between, your pinch method, or you need to get another point of contact. Your needle needs to be out a little bit further, or up your voltage by half a volt. Let's see how that goes. It's hard. It's so hard when you get to this point without being at the side of somebody trying to explain. You get to the point where it needs to be shown. And like Mike said, he's asked about apprenticeships. Nobody's willing. They're like rocking horse shit at apprenticeships. Nobody's willing to give them out. They're elusive.
Hard to get. There's so much information out. I think some, and I think that maybe there's a lack of loyalty too. You know, maybe that's why people don't want to take people on. I really don't know.
Yeah, he's like he says, he's struggling with railskin.
Yeah, and it is tough because, like you said, Andy, if there was somebody there, which there normally would be in an apprenticeship at some point, you know, they can help guide you easily, fix these stuff like on the fly and
on the spot.
Yeah, and you can, adapt. And it's like, no, like you need to slow that down. That movement that you're doing, this is what you should, these little things on the spot. So that is the struggle of when you're kind of doing it somewhat on your own. I mean, you don't have a mentor. I mean, there's tons of YouTube videos, obviously, from so many people, but it's hard to compare, I guess, with that one-on-one. I struggle with too. Aside from YouTube, no real mentor either. So I get it, but it's just going to be harder because it's going to take you longer. And that's the thing,
You see, the other thing as well for me is he does a lot of painting, does a lot of drawing, on canvas, paper and everything. Now, you have a bit more flexibility. Now, the other thing as well is I can see confidence issues for the point that you start tattooing, it's a one-shot deal.
Yeah.
And this is where a lot of people then struggle when it becomes a one-shot deal that you've got to get it right because you can't rub it out and start again. Right. This is where then that you could give you that you could give you that on paper, and you subconsciously know it in the back of your brain. Worst thing you do is you screw it up. If I screw this up, I can screw the piece of paper up and throw it away.
Right.
Now, when it comes to somebody's arm, leg, chest, or whatever, if I screw this up, it's screwed. I've either got to try fix it, or I've really screwed the pooch. Do you know? Right. Do you know what I mean? And that affects. I would say, 99% of tattoo artists at some point, and it's usually when you're first transitioning over. You usually got that little bit of wobble, and it's there. But the more you do it, and the more confident you do get more confident. You do get quicker, and it's a case of, well, you've signed up for this. In you go, and off you go. And that's what you've got. And basically, that's what it is, isn't it, Dave? It's commit. You've got to commit 100%.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things I think I've learned, and it's helped tremendously, it's not easy right out the gate because you're hesitant about so many things you're doing, from the position. But is being deliberate with what I'm doing. Like, just be deliberate. I guess it takes time to learn like your tones and your shades and which one to use when and where you want it. But when you know what you're doing, what you want to use, be deliberate, put that ink in the skin where it needs to go and move on. That's going to avoid that overworking the skin because we're just not really, sometimes we're not committing all the way. Now I will say it looked like some of those lines might have been slightly blown out, but more so they're scarred. You can see that line up at the top up there. You see that shine on that. You're probably, by looking at that, you're running the machine too fast and it's depositing too much ink in that area. So it's kind of, as it heals, scarring out, also because it was overly damaged because, again, it was running too many holes. Every time that needle goes down, I was talking to the guy at work about it too. It was kind of cool. Every time that needle goes down, we know it's putting a dot in there. And if you're overlapping too many dots in one spot, if you're doing a couple things, obviously putting too much ink in that skin, so as it ages, it's going to swell out even more. And then two, you're kind of damaging the skin. So, it's something that I'm going to actually do in the coming days. I'm going to drop my voltage by a couple of volts. And, when it comes to everything else, I feel pretty comfortable with that. But it's all be deliberate about it. Get the needle to the depth it has to be and move it in a consistent motion. I know it's obviously simple to say, harder to do, obviously.
It is. I mean, it's like you say, with them needles punching it same spot. I mean, if you were to get a piece of steak and then a hammer, if you were to go bang, 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 you just make a dint all the way down it. But if you just started going like that, you just turn it to mush. You just turn that area, to mush, and that's
I've definitely done it. So.
Similar thing. Like I say, somebody has sent some more. This is Shane Wiseman. Some of my recent pieces. Here's a selection of pieces I've done over the last few months. I'll be brave and put my work out there. Be kind.
Right on, right on.
So here we go.
Oh,
I'm on wrong screen.
Yeah, Andy, you love the butterflies,
man. I
man.
do, and do you know something? I'm liking these, especially this one, Dave. Especially this one. Here. And
yeah.
I like the black. I like the delicacy. The little. I can't get in any further, Dave. Unfortunately. How crisp, these little antennae, over the top. The symmetry on the wings. How black it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, Andy. I love that they put some depth into it. And funny enough, I'd almost say that they could have gotten a little bit more contrast out of it by putting the black, but maybe not letting that black from the center of the butterfly be so saturated as it goes out. Either thin that out, like move your hand a little faster, and deliberately deposit a little bit more black down right at the bottom of the butterfly body, and then maybe use a lighter tone as you come out. So I like to put that black in, and I know I'll put a little bit less than I want in there, and then shade it with a couple tones less and work your way back into it so that you don't end up getting too dark, taking away that like graduation you can have with your tones right there, give it a little bit more dynamics. But I mean, that's what I would say mainly about that top one. But overall, man, you got all them there. The little lines look pretty good. Like, yeah, they're not bad though. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just I just look at it's like that. I just say it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's like right again. Like I say, Google this shit. Google this shit. Butterfly wings are symmetrical. You know what I mean? That's all I'm going to say on that one. But I like this one. This one, it's a real standouter. Is that this one here?
Yeah, that one specifically. I mean, they're all. I'd say as a whole, nice job.
Yeah.
But specifically, that one right there, and I like that it's dark. It's got the depth in it. I just wish it had just a little bit more skin tone, and that's again, I guess, something that I'm trying to work on as well. So usually, if I'm saying something about it, it's probably because I'm working on it as well. Is want that balance of black, and then try to be able to bust out a little bit of your light tones there to really push the rest of that shade out so it has more contrast.
Yeah.
But overall, pretty cool, man. Very nice. Aha, here we are. We got a rose. Oh, it's
Is it rose or is it the 90? I think it's the 1995. Looking at this, because they're looking, might be the rose. The 1995 is looking fresh on the fingers.
Yeah.
It's really hard. I can't get any further down on this.
Oh, you can't get any more. Then I would only be. My only question would be is, on the fingers, you gotta slow it down even more, get a little bit more saturation, just because it's the nature of the fingers. So it's again, we can't see a whole lot. So as long as those are saturated, truly saturated, because the skin will lie to you. The skin will absolutely lie to you. You over time will kind of be able to really tell what's going on in the 1995. But from here, it looks fine enough to me.
It's
the nines could probably match a little bit more, but
it's both done at the same time. I will say that this rose, this rose has been put in a lot gentler, and a lot more. The colours, the tones have been placed a lot more deliberate by I mean, these fingers, like I know they've got they've got ointment on them, but it's like I say, they have been, proper worked.
Yeah. It's like I mean, they look fine as long as the black's truly saturated in there, which we can see from here.
You can't see. it's too shiny.
Right. I think the rose, Andy, if I love the mid and light tones they have in this, the strength to leave part of that main petal nice and open there, great. I think that this particular one needs is just a touch more black in
Yeah,
the right spots. Just really
yeah,
sell the shit out of that depth in that thing. Commit to some solid blacks here and there, and then that border going around the outside just needs a little bit more of like a shade,
yeah.
something.
Drop.
Yeah, maybe they're gonna do something else down the road. Who knows? But yeah, I would do a little bit of that, add a little black.
Yeah,
I think that rose is gonna be nice.
yeah. That could, like I say, if that had been drawn out and just just shaded out and feathered off a little bit further,
Yeah,
softened.
yeah.
Again, and with you black, you got like areas like here, just through here and around this that could have been little areas up here that could have had a touch of proper black. As we say, it's black's your friend. You've got to get used to using it. That's going to set everything. That sets all your tones and everything apart.
Yeah, same in color work too. You need black in color work as well. That's going to make your colors pop more. So, I mean, we're always trying to think of where can I hide a real dark shadow in here to really show that this is going so deep down in there that we can't see anything.
Yeah.
And on skin, sometimes we want to, what is it? I don't remember the word, but pretty much stretch that out a little bit more. So if it's the image actually shows X amount of black, see what you can do in the curves. If let's say you're using some sort of Procreate or maybe something else, tons of softwares, if you can kind of contrast that a little bit more, get just a touch more black without losing too much of your other shades, or just shade right over top of that real image to find anywhere you can add a little more black. It's going to give it more dynamic in the skin. On paper, it might look like, I don't know, it's a little dark, but in the skin, that black's going to speak strong. As long as you let open skin breathe and you utilize your light tones in the lighter areas.
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of common sense, but it just works,
You got to take your image, the image that people give you, and I've always said the same. You always got to take the image and run with it. You got to have some artistic license. Like Dave said, put it in a program, try shifting your tones, adding a bit more light, adding a bit more dark, taking away a little bit more, and just to see what's going to translate the best into a tattoo, because a straight up photograph is not always going to translate the best across to a tattoo.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Let's see what we've got. Off the bat, I will say, what I'm going to say to you, Shane, is this is the weakest out of the lot. Yeah. This is quite weak. For what I will say is, your lines up here, buddy. Oh, yeah. Your lines up here, proper shaky. This one that goes across here looks dark and then seems to go really light. I can still see a lot of, so light, I can see a lot of stencil through it. Right. And your shading is very tonal. There's no black in it. There's no black in this. You want it black on the nose, some round the corner of the eyes, in the ear. You can see where it's been stenciled out, for dark tones and the light tones. They just haven't put in. This is very weak. And I would imagine
it lacks shape, Andy. I think I see where the shading's at and what we're trying to achieve, but it just doesn't achieve that because of where the shading is. It kind of makes one eye look like it's bigger or doing something different, or in a different space, like it's further forward and the other one's further back. I like the way the little highlight on the nose. I don't know. I guess the nose is supposed to look like that, but it definitely looks like the nose is like missing a chunk. Is that, you see the nose itself there? It looks like it's kind of missing a chunk, but it looks deliberate, so we'll go with it. But yeah, it just feels weak. The shading doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like you said, Andy, the lining around the outside is really thin and shaky. So
yeah, it's the weakest out of. It's the weakest out of the ones we've seen, and I'll be honest with you, Shane. If I was to look at this one, and I was to look at the butterflies, I would swear to God that they've not been done by the same artist.
Totally different.
Because the butterflies, it's like, bang, yeah, I've done them. You're not committed. It's like, bang, yeah, I've done it. There you go. You've put your black in, you've put your shades in, you've got a nice bit of shade and a bit of whip out. Whereas this one, you seem to not wanting to commit, struggle to commit on this one. This is what seems like on me, and get them tones in.
Yeah, and I think the butterflies might have been a little bit easier because he said he was struggling with, I think, shading. So the butterflies may have been mainly black, which eliminated that feeling of having to make tones and all that stuff. And I think that's part of the only thing I noticed in that butterfly was that it had a lot of black, but it seemed like it was all mainly done with black, which is not bad. It's not a bad thing to do, but if you're trying to figure out, your shades, then I can see why that one would turned out a bit better than this one.
I mean, again, we're coming to here. If I get in and be a complete, I'm looking at the line work around here, Dave, and these are only small. You know what I mean? They're not long lines.
Yeah,
they're
you
only
should be able to really stay steady for those little bits.
Yeah, but they're not. You know what I mean? We can see like this bit here, the lines. It's not there. It's not there at all.
This one, I would assume maybe this one came first.
I would have thought so.
Maybe this one was first, and he's kind of working out the kinks, kind of figuring it out. That would make sense. If this is newer than some of the other ones, then one would think that maybe you were trying stuff you weren't quite prepared for. I mean, you weren't prepared for it. This tattoo, I mean, just the truth. You were not prepared for that tattoo.
Now, again, I've gone to this one, and I would swear to God that the person that's done the dog hasn't done this one, Dave, because
this has got some values.
Yeah.
Lines look way better.
The lines look a lot better. Like this through here, Dave. You know what I mean? It stays parallel. Yeah. It's not in and out.
Exactly.
And that what I would say. And I don't know whether it's a picture, because if I zoom out, the picture looks like to have a lot of light on it. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
as if it's oversaturated.
So we keep talking over each other.
No, it's got a lot of light, bouncing and reflecting off it.
Yes, and that's gonna probably degrade what we're seeing in real life. This is probably a little better. You know what I mean? Not that it's bad. I'm just saying it's probably a little bit better because you don't have that light glare in the photo. Not that we're getting a ton, we are getting a little bit. The thing for this would just be like that red. I feel like sometimes it could be saturated just a little bit more.
Yes.
And maybe some of the blacks just a little bit more, like behind that mask. Just
here.
Black out just a squeaky little bit, and then
just like we're doing a little bit more black in there, but I don't know whether that's the light bouncing back off the photo.
Right. That's true. It could be degrading the black. It could be darker.
Yeah, than it. But again, if I zoom to there, I look at that one and I look at that one, I would swear to God that it wasn't the same artist. I'll be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it speaks to, the improvements this person's made.
Yeah.
Like it's in the pudding here. Like we can see it, and that's literally all you want to be looking for in your journey, whether you're on fake skin or paper or whatever. There's some kind of improvement.
I'll be honest. Smoke's put on there. Maybe you just had a really crap stencil for the dog. I don't accept that because it's down to you to make the stencil. So I don't accept that as an excuse, because it's down to you to make a stencil that you can read, whether you need to put 303 lines in it or whether you can get away with just putting 10 in it. It's whatever works for you. So if you haven't made a stencil that's good enough for you, that is laziness on your behalf of not doing that. And that's how I see that, to be fair. That's just piss poor preparation.
I agree, Andy. You could say that the stencil didn't stick all that well, but give it time, let it dry. You make sure if you don't like the way that stencil is, you don't like the way it's dry, you don't like any of that stuff, It might again take you a little longer, but smooth is fast or slow is fast. So if you change out that stencil because you don't like it the first time and it takes you an extra 10, 15, 20 minutes, well, it's worth it over the struggle of having to deal with the missing stencil. It takes you way
Mhm.
longer. You end up not being happy. So yeah, preventative maintenance for sure. But is this from the same person too?
Yeah, I mean, again,
Good variety here.
good variety. I mean, I'm looking at the line work. Line work's a lot better. Maybe just a couple of odd places. I do like the concept of it. Like
It's a
here,
big tattoo.
yeah, this line down here and this line down here,
Yeah.
up there. Maybe just a tad heavy put in because I'm looking at the line weight, Dave, of that line compared to
Yeah.
this, and through there. It may you try to use different line weights because this is a little bit fatter on the back edge of it. Yeah, I've got
Yeah. No. Uh,
what I would say.
overall,
Go on,
sorry.
Dave. No, go on,
Oh,
Matt.
no, I'm sorry. For some reason, our delay is like a solid second.
Yeah.
So we keep talking over each other. My bad. Uh, yeah, I agree with you, Andy. That bottom down there, man. I think you think maybe he probably started at the bottom
Yeah.
and running those first initial lines, trying to see where how that skin is, and you're better off when you first start back off a little bit till you get the sweet spot for that particular person's skin. Um, and then go forward. So he may have dropped that needle in like he maybe did on the last person, and it's a knee. It's closer to the knee. It's probably got a little bit extra stretch to it, especially if your knee's bent. So the needle probably went in a little bit quicker and caused a bit of a blowout or like a scarring. But like you said, Andy, I definitely agree that the lines are a lot smoother here,
Yeah.
way more consistent overall. Um, but yeah, it could be the design of this tattoo. I'm probably going to continue to preach the same stuff. I think we could have gone a little more depth into this, a little
Yeah.
more darks into it. But there are some people, and I mainly know them like women. Sometimes they prefer just a lot more light, even though like the image was going to look, in my opinion, cooler, more dynamic if we can get some more black in there. But I have noticed that they're okay with. They want some more open skin. They like a little bit more
Softer.
breathable tattoo. Yeah, but you can still get a little bit more black. You just got to really think it out and go, I think I can go back after the tattoo. Like you're done, you go put your whites in. When you're done, go back and put with like a liner around shade or something. Find spots where you can kind of pepper that black out a little bit more, add a little bit more depth as you go. But anyhow, that's
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I agree, but I do think it would have just benefited from just a couple of areas. I mean, you didn't have to go crazy with black, but just maybe
right.
down here a little bit just a little bit of black wafted out, same here, and just on corner of this handle, maybe just a bit of black punched out. The other thing is this rope handle, and I know it's quite monotonal. Whereas if you'd just gone a little bit of black, a little bit of grey, and left some open skin just for that highlight, and same with bead on it, I think it just pushed it to another level. Um, and it's just the little things, the little details.
Yeah, and I think because most of the black in this is all up in that handle,
Yeah,
you kind of want to balance your blackout if you can. I understand maybe there's moments you can, I suppose, but balance it out. If you got a lot of dark up at the top, we need like some kind of dark in the middle or at the bottom or somewhere. So it is carrying a lot of its dark at the top. So just kind of think about that when you're putting these kind of pieces together. 30%, if you can get 30% of the tattoo black, then
yeah.
you're going to get even more dynamics.
See, these read a bit better. I mean, reads quite well. Oh, do you know what I mean, Dave?
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of
Um,
this going over top there. I think it looks a bit funky, because that line comes into there. I would have thought is it the sickle or the scythe or whatever that the Grim Reaper uses, especially with this one, would have been a bit nicer. But again, I just think it's missing. I mean, the skull's got a bit of black, got some black in it. I think this Grim Reaper's just missing black, Dave.
yeah.
I know it's quite
Well,
minimalistic.
I think I think this one suffers from its shape and the lining mainly. I mean, that's
This line,
if things had to get changed. There's the lines all at the top of that hourglass are
yeah,
kind of wiggly wobbly. The depths of them are off. If you go to the middle of the hourglass where the lines hold the glass like this, it's really like kind of scarred up on the left side or chewed up, whatever you want to say.
Yeah, here
Uh, yeah,
and
both
this.
sides. And just look at the lines to the left side that are over there, like any of those over there. It's, it's just not any consistency at all in this piece. We've seen other
Yeah,
ones where you didn't see that at all. Just specific to this one that we're looking at right now, um, it's just not really complete. The line, you know what I mean? Lines are a little. I mean, from a distance, you're like, okay, cool. I'm not even gonna. We don't even have to really get into why it's laid out the way it's laid out. Maybe it's the shape because there's something on the other side. Same
yeah.
thing. I don't know, but yeah, I think that hourglass specifically, the lines are
I
rough.
mean,
The shape is a little bit rough, but the soft. I do like the softness that he's got in that in that Reaper over there, though, and all the
it
fine
don't.
little details and stuff.
And it's not just Shane. It's not just Shane with this one, with this comment that I'm going to make. I mean, it's a lot of
Sure.
people. What bugs? The other thing that like irritates the living shit out of me, Dave, when people are tattooing, you've got folds, creases, wrinkles, and everything. You're in clothes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You look at them. You look at them folds, creases, and wrinkles in clothes, depending on what design. They're not done with lines. They're done with
No.
shades. Now you could have
Right.
taken the mag, turned it on a slight angle,
Mm-hmm.
run it down there and wafted it off, and it would have given a softer tone without having that black line. It would have looked 1,000 times better.
Absolutely, and I agree 100%. Sometimes we just like maybe it's the way people stencil stuff sometimes, where they're like, "Oh, there's a fold there," and they draw a line in their
Yeah,
stencil. So then when they go to do it, they just follow that line. It's like, no, that line means there's a curve there, and do exactly what Andy just said. Essentially, whatever tone it is you're going for, whatever, boom, shade that at an
and
angle with that mag, and kind of move on and butter it out if you want to, whatever. But you don't need a hard line there
no,
unless that's part of what you exactly wanted it to be, then so be it. But you can tell that these were supposed to be folds and they, look like lines.
yeah. I mean, this also goes back to look. You made your stencil when you're tattooing. You must have good reference for that tattoo at the side of you to work off.
Yeah.
There's not many people can come up with it straight out of the head. They can't. You must have reference to go off. You
Right.
can't just stick a stencil on and go at it like a madman. Yeah, like I said, this boils down to everybody who's learning, who's tattooing. It's all about good reference, doing your homework and having good reference.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if you're drawing it out or whatever, and you're looking at references to create the piece you're creating, but have that creation have the drawing kind of shaded, even if it's a rough shading, you know what I mean? That way you have something to look at. You know what you're doing as you're working. Okay.
Now,
Again, yeah, and there's everything kind of falls flat because the shade is pretty much the same. I do see some spots where like the tips seem to be dark for some reason, which is fine, whatever. That's how you want to shade it. But it blends in too much with the moth there or butterfly.
yeah, I mean, you've got this moth and butterfly. What would probably works better then because it's very tonal. What would probably work better there is bottom of this moth here to make it stand out. Get your black, get a heavy black, and bring it up. That'd have separated round there. You could have done the same up here, which and same up this wing, and wafted it in. That'd have separated it. Then you could have gone a little bit lighter, but again, some areas of these flowers, uh, it's lacking black, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah, and you
Again,
know
these
what?
undertones here between, like, just for instance here, Dave, on this leaf here, if that had been me and I were doing this, then I'd have got to this point and maybe then gone back with black, corner of my mag, and just wafted up black
Right.
streaks. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you could just stipple them right out, or push it out a little bit and then come in with a lighter tone. But
Yeah,
here's the thing for me, from just a conceptual point of view here. We have a butterfly or a moth over top of these two sunflowers, and it's casting no shadow like whatsoever. Um, I'm not sure. I love the idea of tattooing because you can have you could say a light source is here and you could say a light source is here in your world. You know what I mean? But as long as you stay consistent-ish with where that light's going to be casted, then whatever, you know. And we can get loose and wild with that when we want. That's the beauty of it, in my opinion. But
Oh,
here we need some kind of like a shadow. You know what I mean? Some
yeah.
kind of a to show those wings have stuff underneath of them that is being cast on there. And yeah, I just think it's conceptually a little bit off, and it just lacks black. And even just that bottom sunflower, the shape of it, the shape of the inside of it, something seems oblongish, you know.
It is, but I think because what you would have actually seen, you see these petals going around there. This was the case because this is the center of the thing, and if they're curling over, you would have actually seen them all the way around, Dave. Whereas he hasn't put them in curling over, and that's what's throwing it off. It's going from these curved over just to like this type. And again, this is what that's why it's looking. How we're looking at that. That's why it's looking slightly off. Even
zoom in a little bit, Andy. Oh, well, that's back.
Yeah, you would have these leaves that are actually curling over this center. You would have still seen the top of just about that much. You know, in areas you know coming over, you know, around here and going round. You still, and that's I think that's what's throwing it off as well.
And just it seems, I don't know, it just seems oblongish too. And like you said, maybe it's because you didn't continue those around. They might not have been the greatest references to go off of for this piece too. But if you stack that up with kind of like a concept that's could be better with the lack of black, there's some good stuff happening here too. But we're just critiquing it. So we're just talking about the stuff. Black shadows and initial concept, I think would be like the top.
Yeah. But the main thing, if you was to take anything away from all these, what I would say is, Shane, you really, really do need to get comfortable with using black. If anything else, obviously keep working on your line work, making sure the lines are in and everything. But you've really, really, really got to get comfortable with using black, because that's what's lacking in the majority of all. If you could take one thing away from it all, the majority is not using black and using it in key areas. And I'm not saying you've got to use gallons and gallons of black. You can get your mag, you can get a small mag on its corner and put small amounts of black in, but put them in the right places. It will transform. It will transform them all together. But again, I mean, that's the last one. I appreciate you sending them in, letting us have a look at. I mean, it does take balls to send stuff in and let other people.
Absolutely, and good on you. I mean, you want to ask some other people an opinion on it. Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that the people that send stuff in understand that, none of it's out of like meanness, rudeness, nothing. It's just
no.
If maybe like, definitely just stay humble. Same, like I ask people all the time.
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
what they're doing, how are they doing it? Something nice, and being willing to hear that. So
yeah,
hey, what's going on, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's just trying to keep it real and just try to be fair with what we're saying. And at the end of the day, like I've always said, I ain't no ink master, no world-renowned tattoo artist or anything. I am just an everyday Joe Schmo tattoo artist that enjoys what he's doing, got their own shop, making a living off it, and is willing to come on YouTube and everything and try and, I don't know,
just kind of build a
help
community of people.
Yeah, just try and help out a bit.
Because I know that at this point, a lot of other people are able to kind of help each other out too, and that's kind of where it's at,
Won't be using dynamic black. Shane's put, won't be using dynamic black anymore, that's for sure, as I use solid black in all the pieces, but doesn't look like, that's for sure. I use dynamic black 100% of the time. Now, what I find, Dave, is people that are using black and want solid black think that they're going to get solid jet black generally in one pass.
Yeah.
Now, you can get solid black in one pass, but you generally find or I generally find myself that there's a second pass going over it to make sure it is 100% black, and it is consistently black.
Right, right, right. And sometimes you'll get it in on, you know, if you know how to put in black, right, then you could get it on the first go around, depending on how much you're putting in there. But like you said, to keep it smooth, consistent, and that, yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be uncommon for there to be some lighter spots, some little bits here and there. But if your stuff's coming back and it's splotchy or it's far lighter or whatever, it's not the ink. You know, I use dynamic black, mainly their standard black for everything. And that might change. I might switch it up for my straight black, but that stuff, I know when I take my time and I saturate that in the skin, it's going to be black. You know what I mean? It's going to, we're not going to have any holidays if you're taking your time and really saturating the black. But you can still do that. And somebody might not take care of it properly. It might have a little weird healing, and it's still going to have some light spots that you still have to pack in on a second, you know, on maybe a touch up session or a second pass session. You can finish a tattoo and let that person know, hey, when this heals, we're going to have about another hour that we still have to put in. We're going to have a second pass. And that's not a touch up, that's a second pass, meaning they're going to have to come back in and pay for that extra
Yeah.
hour that you're going to have to put into it, because it's not a touch up. It's the fact that I know how this is going to heal, and I don't want my work walking around. I want you to have exactly what you're supposed to have. So when you comes back in, we're going to have one more hour. So you'll pay 1 hour rate, and we're going to go back over not everything, but you know, certain pieces when it leaves. All right, I would love to get a second pass. I really want to make sure that this, that, and the other stays solid, and they have the good tattoo for years to come. So,
Right. Like I say, Jason's put that up. I know there's 11 people. Like I say, just if you're in, just smash a like. When it's done, when this video goes and it goes up, if just go down, just put a comment on the video, thanks, thumbs up or whatever. It just helps with YouTube. Again, what I will say is when I do, if or when I do it, 1,000 subscribers, I have got something planned, but you will need to be subscribed and kept tuned in, notifications on to find out what's going on, because there will be a video going up. So that's that crappy little bit out of the way. We'll go back. We've got a couple more minutes, Dave, and then we're going to buggy on out of here, bud. We've done 2 hours 11 minutes, my friend. So Jason's chucking in. What's your favourite ink for colours?
yeah, you know, my favorite ink is Fusion as of right now. And then now that doesn't mean it is my favorite ink forever. It just means of the inks I've used, um, I prefer Fusion at this point. There are some really cool ones. I've gotten to use some color that they came out with. That was really cool. They came out with like things like 5 or 6 colors, and it's like oil paint colors, like crimson red and blah blah blah. And you can mix them just like you would oil paints. They're liquids, but they mix the same. It comes with the whole sheet, and it tells you like 2 drops of this with this creates this. So these 5 colors make like everything. And I used them just as like their base colors a few weeks ago and had a really good time with those. Those are cool. There's been a couple other brands that I really liked as well. But what I find myself using, and it's probably because it's what I have the most of, but I truly do like the Fusion tones, man. I really like those. And Eternal. I still use Eternal. So mainly for me right now, it's Eternal and Fusion. So.
Now, I'll be honest. I used to use flat out Intense. Now, I've got a few Radiant. I found a pigment raw ink. That's not bad. But do you know what I've just found myself turning to and liking? I'll be honest. Now I can get my hands on them, no problem. World Famous.
Yeah, World Famous. That was the other brand that I used that I really liked too. But I don't own a lot of World Famous. I was using somebody else's.
Do you know?
And it went in real nice.
The pigment, the amount of pigment and how rich they are and how it leaves that World Famous. It's just like, yeah, that'll do. That'll do. To the point, I used the yellow from World Famous when I was doing Disney tattoo. To the point, and I'm using I'm using Vaseline, or I think I was using cocoa butter at the time, but using Vaseline. I've got distilled water, I've got green soap, I've got foam wash and everything. And the overspill when I wiping it, and it got on the skin, just straight up stained the normal skin. I was struggling. There was that much pigment in it just from wiping. You know, there were actually stains on the skin. Brian, you missed it. Go back and watch the stream earlier on. I did say it, so you will have to go back and watch it out because I'm not saying it for you. You should have been tuned in earlier.
It needs his fix.
Yeah, it needs his fix. But as I say,
World Famous though. That's a popular one, and I see why.
I don't like it. It's a nice thing. So, anyway, with that, Dave, unless anybody's got anything else to say, we've been running for 2.25 hours, believe it or not.
Yeah, on our end, I feel like it went by pretty smooth, pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, it's been good just to bullshit with you.
I appreciate every single one of them that's tuned in, that's been in the chat, asked the question. It's nice seeing people coming back. And that, whoa, what's wrong, Brian? We're going, mate, and here's your baby oil. But unfortunately, like I said, we've been here 2.25 hours. I appreciate every single person that's turned up. All the new ones that seem to, it's either just pushed them back out to a notification and that. So hopefully, fingers crossed, 99% sure I will be here next Sunday. So with that, guys, and Dave, I appreciate but I know it's crazy busy for you, mate. I appreciate you being here. And I'm sure everybody in the chat does. And that. So with that, guys, we are going to bid you farewell, and I will see you in the next one. And I'm sure that Dave will be back at some point.
Oh yeah.
Either here or on his own channel. So keep them notifications done. And again, guys, appreciate it. Thank you, and we will see you on the next one.
Good night, guys.